Let me just press record now. Okay, so we're good to go. So if I may, without wishing to drag you through lots of history, I just wanted to go back to when you first started to work with Financial Force, which I think was back in 2014. And my understanding was that you were an existing Intact customer at that time, using Intact for financials and inventory management, but the inventory side wasn't so good. Could you maybe just elaborate a little bit more on that in terms of how you started to work with Financial Force, please?
Yes, actually, our relationship with Financial Force goes back even further. I had talked to the owner of Less Software before Financial Force had acquired Less Software, and we were considering using Less Software for our inventory management piece about 5-6 years ago before we chose Intact. So we moved over from a prior accounting system, Account Edge, that had no inventory management, into an Intact that had a very simple inventory management. And at that time, we had considered, we talked to Less Software, Mike Flanagan, about possibly using their solution. And I talked to Jason Yoon at Financial Force about possibly using their accounting solution. But we chose to go with Intact because they had both solutions under one software versus going with two solutions and having to integrate Financial Force with Less Software. So our relationship with Financial Force actually had started many years ago. 3 years into using Intact, we had hit the boundaries of what they were capable of doing with the inventory management. They weren't really an inventory management company. We were seeing in their development and their focus on upgrades and future development, from what we could tell, was going to be focused more on service-oriented companies. And we didn't have the robustness or the complexity of being able to do many things with the inventory management piece. So that's what took us back to Financial Force. And that time we realized we'd heard that after we talked to Financial Force, conveniently, you guys had acquired software, which was a good fit for us. It was actually a fantastic piece of news for us.
Yeah.
And SCM has been. We decided at that time not to do both. We were happy with the financial management piece. I was concerned about trying to bite off too much and move into the inventory, the supply chain management piece, and the finances at the same time. So we decided to only move our SCM piece over, our inventory management piece over. And in hindsight, I'm not sure that was the best decision.
That's interesting. Sorry to talk over you, because that was exactly was going to be my next question. In hindsight, would you make the same decision, or what would change that?
I probably would have done it all. We weren't, I think, as a company, ready to make that big of an investment. We weren't in the financial position or the size that we were ready to bite off that much. And we were happy with Intact from the financial management, so we didn't know what Financial Force could do for us. And so we probably didn't realize the value at the time that we would get by moving both pieces. So we had also kind of been advised by maybe one or two people that do one at a time. Whether that was the correct advice, it's always easier in hindsight to. It was a tough decision. I wish we'd done both, but given the situation again, we may have made the same decision again.
Yeah, I can understand that. Indeed, I know that we as an organisation will give different advice to prospects or customers depending on their specific circumstances. Sometimes we will advise, no, do the whole lot at one time and that'll work for you best. But then there's other circumstances where piece by piece is more appropriate. So it sounds as if it was a very sensible decision at the time. So moving
go ahead.
Sorry,
however, we did spend a significant amount of time and resources managing that integration that we would rather have spent elsewhere, and that's what we've learned in hindsight. That integrating with the other system was painful.
And that integration was between Salesforce, Intact, and Financial Force.
Yes.
That's interesting. So if we bring forward to 2017 then, so you've gone through that pain of integrating the solutions and got them working. What was it that prompted you to then say, okay, actually now is the time for us to review our financials and move that across to Financial Force?
There's a couple layers there.
Okay.
To build on what Ken was saying, the integration works
Somewhat.
Okay.
Minorly at best. I mean, it really doesn't work well. It really actually works very poorly. For as far as our financials, it gives the information our financials need. It gives no information back, and so there's not a lot of transparency. And the information that goes over isn't always accurate without manual intervention. So I'm constantly monitoring it, and that's the hard part, is I'm reconciling two systems because there's no confidence that they're going to be accurate regularly. So I'm constantly watching that the receivables are accurate, that the revenue is accurate, that the inventory values are balanced and accurate in both systems, or that they match to the penny. And they don't regularly, so I have to really massage it. So the integration is poor. It's developed by a third party. And we've invested a lot in that integration, and we decided it's not worth the additional investment because we're not going to do this long term. And so the integration has become painfully time consuming. That was the first thing that we knew we had to get out of this integration. It was a temporary solution. And how quickly can we get out of it? Well, we're spending a lot of resources of learning and getting the value out of SCM that we decided to limp along with the integration. Intact is fine as a financial management piece. I'm very comfortable with it. It gives me what I need. It's grown as much as I can get it, so it's inflexible if I want to do more. And no one can see it but me because we don't have many licenses in it, and it doesn't bring any information back into Financial Force. So it's an independent silo. And so that's been a frustration when we see the value of having moved our supply chain management into Salesforce, and the drill around, drill down, and transparency we have with the information at our fingertips, and the reporting capabilities, the flexibility in customizing just screens and triggers, the enormous value that has given us. I miss not having that opportunity in my financials as well. So now that I've lived in SCM for 2.5 years, I see the immense value that I couldn't see 2.5 years ago, and I miss not having that in my financial accounting piece as well. So A, I hate the integration. That really takes a lot of time. And B, I miss the value that I get in SCM, not having that in our accounting system.
We've worked with a developer to improve our integration, and the API for Intact, he described it as cryptic.
Interesting.
So that was it was difficult and would have required us to devote a lot of time and resources into developing to make it work how we wanted it.
That's really interesting to hear. Thank you for clarifying around that. Sorry, Sarah, you were going to say something.
Intact is a great financial management piece, accounting piece. It doesn't have nearly the ability, the flexibility, the ease of customizing it. So it takes some more coding to actually customize it, and third-party developer to help you even add fields to screens. The reporting function is a little bit difficult, but I know it very well now, so I can write reports so no one else can. It's not that easy. It's not user-friendly. However, the out-of-the-box reports are fantastic. There's a ton of them, and they really meet my needs, and I can massage them to what I need. So how you can track by dimensions works very, very well. So there's a lot of it has a ton of value, and there are a lot of very strong suits, and I've been very happy with Intact. But seeing what the ease of customization I can get out of Financial Force is pushing me to want to move into Financial Force, particularly because I have everything else under Financial Force. Quite frankly, I'm a little concerned because I know the reports in Intact that I'm used to and I'm spoiled by are not quite there in Financial Force. So I know there's a slight trade-off, but it's not worth the cost of the integration and the lack of flexibility in Intact.
Again, thank you. It's really useful for you to go into that level of detail and to give me that feedback. And indeed, Intact is a great solution. I constantly hear good things about it, but I also hear from customers some of those points you've also made, that there comes a point where actually it's a little inflexible and it can be challenging to customize. So, but for many users, it's perfectly functional. Can I ask you about the relationship between Intact and Salesforce? Because there is a Salesforce Intact connector, and I've heard all sorts of tales of woe about that. Were you using Intact and Salesforce